hitchhike on what Linda had to say. Completely agree about living the way you're talking about, because people won't always believe everything you say, but they will always believe the example you have set for them. And when you do everything with integrity, then you can always come through in shining colors with those people.
You know, it's interesting. The root word of integrity, if you remember high school math, integer, and an integer is a whole number. So the root word of integrity means whole. And I think that what's interesting is we talk about what you say and what you do. And if you're saying one thing, doing another, you're not whole. You're divided. You got these two parts. And that's what creates this discrepancy and breaks trust when they see us saying one thing, doing another. So
this video is dedicated to confusion and the reduction thereto. If you were not confused, watch something else. You must relish in the confusion like many a dill pickle upon dog throughout history. The process. I show you something. Like a pen. I describe the pen. Rhythmical and oddly damp. You quite possibly become confused. Excellent. The prescription for confusion is data. I will give data by perhaps cutting away to the origin of pen and giving saga. After data givel, if need be, I will recap what is a line item of expense. The pen, the fab, the rhythmical essence. Or possibly continuing straight on without review, or even rewinding 10 seconds. If you have seen a segment before, do not panic. You will not see very much twice or for long. The point being, a line item on paper should make more sense when read after the video, instead of Casey trying to charade the information back to people over and over. Anything where I am sitting, like now, is me going over generator cost. Any other angle is usually a cutaway for information. Hope this helps. Star Wipe Fabuloso. Hooray and happy day. So, I printed off these manuals while I was working on this, and I don't need them anymore. And instead of throwing them away, I'll leave them on top of the generator. We're going to do kind of a video bill here / service thing. Anything apart from this carburetor is essentially a maintenance cost and would be needed for any generator. I will go over some of these standard maintenance items now. We're going to go in order of when things were bought. First thing would be starting fluid, represented by that. Starting fluid cost me, this one's $4.79. Cost me about that. You know, this one would be $5 with tax or whatnot. Anyway, billed you $4 for starting fluid. Used to diagnose things. Won't start. Spray starting fluid in it. Starts running. At least you know you have spark. It's running funny. Spray a little bit of starting fluid in there. See if it starts running smoother. Ooh! An example from the media bin using your own motor. Use it to clean things like gasket surfaces. What are some things that need cleaning with starting fluid, you ask? We've taken the elbow off, the engine, shucked it and cleaned it with starting fluid. Nature's favorite. The gasket is perma-hered to the cylinder head. And, well, I just cleaned it with just starting fluid. Why? Because it's cheap, it evaporates quickly, and it's probably less toxic than most things. Very useful product. Next thing would be an air filter. Here's the old air filter, Generac one. Goes right in here. I think it goes that way, actually.
Hey, join me for a filter birthing process. So this air filter cost me $8.54, and I charged you $11.
Next is the carburetor. Here is the old one. It will be in the old bag of goodies.
I give away a new carburetor.
When this gasket is bad after the throttle plate in the manifold vacuum area, there is unmetered airflow caused by the action of the piston drawing a big breath. So what this would normally do is just simply cause the machine to die. But because the float is bad and the seat is bad and the needle is bad, what it does is overflow. It just builds and builds and overflows like a toilet. And then there is raw fuel collecting in front of that throttle plate and basically in this elbow right here till it runs out the air filter and onto the ground. You can see on the back side of this where it's been running and dripping gas everywhere. This carburetor typically on average costs me between $12 and $16 and usually includes things like an air filter. Because of the hurried nature of this one, this particular carburetor, to get it in time, cost me $24.12, and I charged you $32. I know I quoted $25, but keep in mind that I am typically buying that carburetor for $12 to $16 when I'm quoting them for $25. Next is this fuel shutoff valve right here. A new one and a new rubber grommet.
Let's look at the old Petcock with me. It's fun!
Very hard to twist.
So this valve is bad, both because it is 25 years old and I used it as a way to modulate the fuel from leaking during the period which I ran the engine to verify whether or not the smoke was burning oil. And guess what? It is not. Hip hip hooray!
Very easy to turn now. New grommet. It's actually cheaper to buy a 3-pack versus just the one. Those cost me $11.04, and I charged you $11, and I was just keeping the extra ones instead of marking those up. Next on the cost is gasket maker.
Exemplary example. You betcha.
So we're going to put the right stuff, well, everywhere. On this gasket surface, gasket, that side, that side, that side. We've taken the elbow off, the engine. This stuff is approved for fuel contact, basically everything but putting it inside of a gas tank, like direct contact. A greasement has happened.
Laherg, Vendelbend, re-attack. No!
This feels very ancestrous. Yes. Back to our roots. Why? Always the why. Click. Tight. Branya Havnia. Oi. Oh yeah, and service alert. Don't get too goopy, because you don't want to glue up your carburetor with it. So yeah, you'll want to blot it down pretty good. Manifold side gasket applied with glue. No glue on that side. This tube right here costs me, $26 approximately. Used just over an ounce, costs $2.66 an ounce. I billed you $3 for the right stuff. Next on the list is new clamps. How pretty, huh? Charged you $1 a clamp, 4 clamps. Yeah. Anyway, to get the clamps, I had to buy a $16 kit because nobody sells just 11mm clamps or 9mm clamps, either side of the 10mm that never fits. And I burned up basically half a kit doing this, so this kit will do one more generator like this, and then I have a bunch of tremendously useful sizes like 22mm. What the heck am I going to do with that? So yeah, again, $4 for clamps. The fuel filter is $4 as well. And here's what I ordered. Yeah, I billed you $4, but it's out of a kit of 10. It cost me $15.
Mont Bleu! The description, it says no filter, but the picture. The picture! What's the answer? Yes, Mont Bleu.
Next is the oil. This stuff down at the local O'Reilly's is just a splash under $10 out the door, like $9.67 or something. Yeah, $9.67. I billed you $7 for a pour off my new jug here. You're welcome. Fill to overflow. How novel. This will help keep it from leaking on the crank seals and help the valve seals and whatnot. This only cost me about $2.40 to give you a pour off this if you buy your oil ahead of time online. Next is the fuel line. Went and bought this really nice Gates hose here. Yeah. Gates. So, yeah, here's the old fuel line, roughly in the shape of the old one. Amazing, like that. Cracker crunchy. Be in the bag of old goodies. Building over here. This cost me $10. I charged you $3. Cost me about $1.01. Here's the old spark plug. Champion RC12 YC. Should be an RC14 YC.
YC, if you look in the owner's porno manual. Yeah, somewhere, yeah. Generac part number OE7585. Oh, yeah, and then gap it over here. But that would be a Champion RC14YC NGK7938, otherwise known as the BKR5E.
Here is the plug that I put in it, and they are gapped to 30 thousandths. This spark plug is 5 thousandths over at 35.
and was jet black when I removed it the first time from the engine. I put this spark plug back in the engine to burn off all the Marvel Mystery Oil I squirted into the cylinder. And after it running for a while, this is what it looked like when it came out. This guy cost me $3.22. I'm charging you $5. When I gave you a poll of my Marvelous oil over here, I also put in Marvelous Marvel Mystery Oil. Dun, 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 dun. So this holds 21 ounces. Crankcase capacity. So I put in 4 ounces of this and 17 ounces of the max life over there. And then I also put many syringefuls of this inside the cylinder to help loosen up the rings and also try to help break the glaze off the cylinder walls. We are going to put Elixum into the heart of the beast. Oh, yeah. Good, clean living. Now, before you go ramming this into your system, you definitely want to purge the air out of the top of it. We got the client at a more relaxed angle, and we'll proceed. Word and direction. Alright, we're going to go down. We're just going to code everything. Come back up. Oh. That was embarrassing. Occasionally, throughout walking by, just kind of rotate it through this cycle. So what the elixir does is very helpful in dissolving the bad gas. Gonna go ahead and give these valves just a little bit of a squirt. Sure. So yeah, when I drop by, I will go ahead and give them a little squirt, give it a little jiggle. So this will go ahead and help loosen up our rings if, they need to be loosened at all. We will also put the elixir in the new oil. Gonna walk on by, gonna do the jiggy jiggle. Hey. Jiggle, 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 jiggle. Stripping down in. Needs to be a little more angled. That's the problem. The Snapple bottle is what's holding it now, not the hammer. We broke sacrum. There we go. Got a proper tilt back. Give another little squirt here. Here. Oh, the precision hammer. Don't worry, we left our safety Snapple jack stand in place. Oh, we got us our kickstand done, funnel, drain plug tight,
We've got our Ritzlet special. We've got, we got 4 and a splash ounces ready to go. It says it holds 21 ounces. Pour this in, and then I'm going to pour me 17 ounces over. Oh, here we go. She's been running a good 2 hours out there, and I was going to go give her a little shot of this in the intake very slowly while it was running, make a lot of smoke, make everybody in the neighborhood happy. It's a new swish bottle. All right. Hello, bird. This stuff cost me $7.53 a bottle, and I charged you $5 for the amount that I used, which was approximately 8 to 10 ounces. Next was gasoline. I bought gas once, $5 worth, and then I bought gas again, $5 worth. The first time was when I was diagnosing it. Actually, bought gas 3 times. Well, whatever. I only billed you for twice. Yeah, I guess the first gas is free. Yeah, because I put gas in it while I was flushing it, and then I bought gas again to flush it on video. We got our general flushing kit here. We got the star of the show from earlier. A general collecting jug. Fuel from the first flushing event. Take this lovely thing. Do our shake, shake, shake I'm so fond of. And then I ran it out of gas, so I went and bought more gas. So yeah, I paid $10 for gas. I'm charging you $15, $2.50 a trip, even though it's 3 trips. So yeah, doesn't quite add up. Locktite. We put Locktite on everything. There's a bottle. We will also apply Thread Locker Blue by the very same company. Blue applied. But they have lock nuts on them. Put it on anyway! Bottle of Locktite. Been using it. It's expensive. Billed you $4 for it. When you dropped this off, our quote was approximately $83, $85. $20 to replace the carb, approximately $25 to get a replacement carburetor, and then $25 for the breather hose right here that is missing. It is right here in your bag of goods. I will not put it on because it is a fire hazard. It'll fill this case full of oil and be quite dangerous. This breather hose was quoted as approximately $25, and I was really close, and then I actually found it for cheaper. Here it is on Amazon for $26.94 shipped, so if you would like to order it from there, you're certainly welcome to. There's another picture of it. You could also order either online or through the phone from Jack's Small Engines. Here's the breather hose. It's only $6.17, but they do charge for shipping. And then you also need the governor spring, which is only $2 from here. But if you buy it just alone from somebody, they charge $13 by the time you pay for shipping. And then you do need a valve cover gasket. The old one does not seem to be leaking, but it is broken. So here is that valve cover gasket number. And then here is the phone number. You certainly call and order over the phone. Here is a lock nut number that I forgot to add to here. And then some parts, diagrams that I did not throw in the garbage that you are more than welcome to keep. You are welcome. That lock nut is right here. So yeah, that is the lock nut for this part number. And then this spring is this spring right here on the governor. And then the valve cover gasket is obviously, this rocker arm thing here. So, yeah. Yes, this is a fire hazard. It's going to spray misty oil over everything. So, yeah. Don't really know what to do. I'm going to put it on going that way. Yeah. Like a big old flag. Fix me. So yeah, between the carburetor and this hose, that was $63. I just bought the maintenance things that I needed to get it running, to show that it works well, that it's worth buying, that kind of stuff for. Hooray! So the only stuff out of this pile that is not maintenance is this carburetor right here. Everything else, the Petcock, the air filter, the spark plugs, the oils, the starting fluid, the Locktites, the glue. You're going to use that with any unit. You saved enough money on all these parts by getting them through me to actually pay for all the labor. For $20, I attempted to clean this thing and fix it. I diagnosed this huge vacuum leak.
Vacuumed leaks sound like hippie frou-frou a Sheila would buy at a Whole Foods.
This is the reason the generator is here. This vacuum leak accompanied by the fuel leak situation explained earlier with the carburetor. All these issues I'm about to lay out play off each other, and we start out with the choke, and it seems a little odd. But I promise, I picked it all from the editing bin, and it all works out. The first problem we have is the prior operator was modulating a runaway engine by applying the choke. There was disagreement, shall we say, on whether the arrow meant on or off. I removed the lid of the air cleaner so we could peek in through the side here, so I could show him that in this position is off, and that one is obviously on. The runaway engine, defined as RPM raising to the point where speed is modulated by applying this choke to restrict airflow, and therefore saving its life, or the valves moving so fast that they can mechanically move no faster, therefore governing the speed before it explodes, essentially. And yeah, I mean, the voltage would have to be out of control. But oh, my dirty sundries, you say, the governor, the governor, the governor, the governor. Yeah, not the governor. Okay, let's go back to this object here. All right. We were introduced to it this way. This is the choke. So on the other side, there is a gigantic vacuum leak here from this thing. Who would have thunk? Ah, but Mallywalk, the fuel. Air is only one part of the equation. Where, my lad, does the fuel come from? I have infused this rare and illustrious wonder wand with the power of radium. Choke, throttle. Restriction can be made by closing the choke and by opening and closing the throttle plate. Notice it cannot close all the way. That is how idle is set. Gasoline enters this equation through this tube here and proceeds to fill the carburetor bowl. At one point, a float will stop the flow of gasoline from being pumped in by gravity through a needle and seat combination with the float. When this gasket is bad after the throttle plate in the manifold vacuum area, there is unmetered airflow caused by the action of the piston drawing a big breath. So what this would normally do is just simply cause the machine to die. But because the float is bad and the seat is bad and the needle is bad, what it does is overflow. It just builds and builds and overflows like a toilet. And then there is raw fuel collecting in front of that throttle plate and basically in this elbow right here till it runs out the air filter and onto the ground. Unlimited fuel, unlimited air. A GIF animation of Venturi action. Oh. We're going places. This model is what needs to flow through the carburetor for engine speed to be maintained proper. This flow animation essentially ends on top of the piston and begins right behind this air filter. So everything this side of the air filter is ambient air pressure. Because of the nature of the restriction, there's going to be lower than ambient air pressure, and then this cycle starts. And what's exploited in this cycle is there's a tube right here that vacuum can be drawn from, and that was that little brass nub you see. And then that piece of brass in the middle is the main carburetor jet. Engine speed is dictated by this flowing, as you see here. When there's a hole, see, when this gasket is bad right here, there's essentially a hole here. And because this animation is being fueled by the act of this piston drawing a big old breath, it doesn't matter that the Venturi doesn't work anymore, and it does not matter that it cannot fuel itself through this Venturi action, because essentially fuel is being pumped into this end of the equation by gravity from the fuel tank. Running with this unmetered air leak and this unmetered fuel leak will eventually lead to engine damage, and that's basically, we're really close to not be able to bring it back to life. I took off the spark plug lead, I removed the spark plug. The spark plug was fouled, black, and not the correct plug. I performed a compression test, 100 psi. There is no statement from the manufacturer for a specification for compression testing. I performed a differential leak down test. It showed a 10% leak, which is excellent. As far as Briggs & Stratton is concerned, this engine here is basically brand new because of what this instrument here says. I have these all hooked together here in synergistic madness. I'll pan back a little bit here. Focus, thank you. So what we're going to do is purge and make sure that all these gauges come back and always read the same thing. So, got 30, 30. This one's just a skosh over. Yeah. Okay, now this one reads 25 approximately. And see, this one is consistently off. So we're 5 off here. We're 2.5 at 90. And we have a notation. Yeah, so. Yes, we're going to go ahead and crank this up to 90. Oops. All right, there's perspective to consider when viewing from the camera. I'm looking directly over the gauge, and from the camera, this one looks just skosh under, and this one also just a skosh under. But, yeah, as you can see, pretty much 100%. Like I'm giving a plus 2.5. To be courteous. Hooked up, no flow, zeroed out. Essentially 100% flow, wasted engine. 20 psi is what it drops down to when it is set at 30. And then when you pop it off, she goes back. So this always lands plus or minus, a pound or two. This is like an energy audit for your home, except for your cylinder. So, this is basically them putting that big fan in your door and telling you how much in percent of a leak you have, and this is doing the same thing. So obviously 0 is fantastic and wildly unreasonable. It's not, if this says bad, you don't just
throw something away. But if it says good, it's not necessarily fantastic at the moment either.
Okay, this is where we are in the compression cycle. We're about to push out all the exhaust. So here's the exhaust valve, push down, and then you can hear the air coming out of the exhaust here. We got approximately 22 going into our gauge, and we got 100% leakage because it's all coming out the exhaust. This is an index mark. This is a compression release mark for the intake cycle, and this longer mark is top dead center. So I'm going to start this animation and then try to frame all this in while I twist it. So okay, so now we're coming out the intake. Taking a drink. All right, we gotta go over that compression release. Our leaking is not very much. So we're gonna go all the way to top dead center. Okay, so my hand is off the tool. Yeah, so we got essentially 10% leak down. Top dead center. And as we go over, what it's going to do is bump this breaker bar out of my hand and hit it into the floor. So, yeah. See, that's why you don't use a 90-pound tester, because if that comes around and hits you in the face, it's very unpleasant. See, that's over here again. Over the compression. There we go. All right, and then back. I performed a visual inspection with the borescope camera. The cylinder wall appeared to be glazed and, not happy. All right, I'm going to go ahead and... Yeah, camera's down in the spark plug hole. Got our image tube. Okay, here we are. Focus, thank you. Oh boy. Worked better in the first shot. Oh. I am turning the crankshaft and therefore the piston up and down with this hand off frame in the camera. Well, you can't see, but there is a little bit of cross-hatching here. I think what is visible is the amount of distance between the piston and the cylinder wall here. There we go. And then
But can you see the reflection of the piston going up and down? There's a little white spot right here. Okay. Look at that, and you can see that in the cylinder wall. As it goes by. Yeah. So see, that's all glazed over. But there's ways to get that off. Not always successful. Usually just, running them for a while without the choke on will help things out. You saved enough money on all these parts by getting them through me to actually pay for all the labor. For $20, I attempted to clean this thing and fix it. I diagnosed this huge vacuum leak and the sticking float causing the fuel to overflow, making the engine overspeed and run away. I took off the spark plug lead. I removed the spark plug. The spark plug was fouled, black, and not the correct plug. I performed a compression test. 100 psi. There is no statement from the manufacturer for a specification for compression testing. I performed a differential leak down test. It showed a 10% leak, which is excellent. I performed a visual inspection with a borescope camera. The cylinder wall appeared to be glazed and, not happy. I applied Marvel Mystery Oil in the cylinder to help break that glaze and free the rings if they were indeed stuck from old fuel. Occasionally rotated the engine in both directions to jostle the piston rings. We need about 5 times more fabulous! Yeah!
Did we shut off the fuel? You betcha! Did we remove the air filter lid and filtering element? You betcha! Were the carburetor bolts quite stripped on their Phillips heads? Oh my, you betcha! Did we remove the air filter box holder from the engine cover? You betcha! Did the carb bolts come out with set box, and was it all a big conglomeration of what's it? You betcha! Disconnect that carburetor fuel line? You betcha! Disconnect linkages? You betcha! Clean gasket surfaces of oil? Why, but of course. Inspect the new carb visually? Yes! Flat file the new carb? Whoa! Yes! Clean that mess up? But of course.
Oh, a sequel interlude.
Back over here at the healing bench, before we get on with the replacement ritual. Quality goods. Check it out. Gaskets too. Oh. We're going to take this fine product and flat file both gasket surfaces, because I find these aftermarket carburetors are a little less than actually flat. The first pass basically only kissed right there. So yeah, give them a good flat file. As you can see, we've taken quite a bit of material off. And we're just barely not kissing. Disconnecting throttle linkage, cleaning the gasket surfaces of oil, inspecting the new carb, flat filing the new carb, cleaning up the filings from the new carb, gluing the gasket surfaces where appropriate, and replacing fuel line with quality gates hose and new clamps. Jiggle, 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 jiggle. Jiggle, jiggle, jiggle. After affronting the generator with such quality,
we was able to put in a new fuel filter and those new clamps to hold said filter. Then install a new NGK plug, and then run the unit and assess what further stuff needs to be done. And oh yeah, the fuel tank needs to come off to do anything I just mentioned. And I think we could look at each other with the sly satisfaction and grin of knowing that we did the it that is the be the takeoff of the fuel tank. Segmentus valve train rocker latius inspectment adjustiositus. That's taxi Latin for lash adjustment segment. For that, we need accurate data and, of course, venue. A panoramic sweep for my friends, but the real question, ladies and gentlemen, does he have pants on? In the 50s, we would beat our women for setting the valves so tight. But it's all good now. For a venue, we've got this nice Berber. Just pop this cover off. Just come over here, give this a little pull. What we want is for this one to be down. So it's 4,000. Perfect. Alright, now that this valve's opening, we can do the exhaust. You can already tell right away there's some lash. Just go right with 4 at the beginning. Oh, she's pretty snug. Almost like I've had this cover off like a dozen damn times. Yep. Ta-da! Intake, exhaust. You need to be careful when doing this one because there's that compression release in the cam you saw earlier in the video. So make sure she's like really pushed down good. The book says do this all the time, I would think, where it's this piece of industrial equipment that it is. Probably doesn't need to be done that much. Especially since it's like the most ridiculous valve lash spec I've ever seen. I'm just lucky I had bought a new set of feeler gauges to use with the new straight edge. Oh. I was just, oh. That was fun. So many times with the on and off, you say. I wanted the generator to run well for some length of time on good oil, and then check the valves. Make sure, didn't knock any carbon or whatnot off, and she looks great. Ooh! Segmental recap for valve train rocker lash inspection adjustment. First, you must source the specifications for said valve lash. Then remove the rocker arm, quote, cover. That cover gasket is damaged. I supplied you with the part number. You are welcome. Then you must remove the crankcase breather hose, which was previously removed before doing that video. That is why it's on backwards. Inspect the clearance of the valves and adjust if necessary. Clean the cover and reinstall. And then, like I said, I will not install that hose because it is fire hazard. This segment, $19.50. Fuel Tanko di Removo, which consists of cut the old fuel line from the tank Petcock.
He's got a blade! Look out!
Remove the tank fasteners. Remove the tank. Remove the tank heat shield. Agitate the tank aggressively to suspend any contaminants. Dump tank quickly into a suitable container. Fill again with fuel and repeat agitation process 4 more times. Remove the tank petcock and grommet. Clean grommet area of tank. Install a new grommet and petcock. Fill with fresh fuel. Refasten tank when appropriate. The tank has actually been installed and removed probably 50 times. That's a whole lot of hey for not a whole lot of $20. Governor, verify, and adjust. These things consist of setting the low idle on the carburetor, setting the idle electromagnet limit range. Alright, first step to adjusting the governor is wishing you had wheels. And then it's actually warming it up. Mont Bleu for you. Yeah, put Locktite on this idle screw for the carburetor that goes through that hole there. A new blue. What you want to do is twist this screw in or out until the voltage is about 110 volts when the idle control is on. And then if you sit and watch it for a while, the lowest it will go is 100 volts. And then you're not messing anything up, and basically anything you plug into a wall would actually run on that lower setting. So like a desk lamp or something, the generator would be so much quieter. While this is not jiggling everywhere, I'm going to back off this governor nut and put some Locktite on it. There we go. Slurp some of that up there. Yeah, that's the spot I was worried about. Okay, put that back a little bit.
Alright, our voltage control is off.
So I have found when it says it's empty on that, it starts doing this kind of surgy thing. So go buy some more gas, I guess.
Loctiting the electromagnet jam nut and the governor rod lock nut. Inspect and adjust voltage output at governor rod lock nut, and check sine wave output for general stator health, which is fantastic. Alright, back to the business end for some clarification. All the shots you have seen have been kind of at different times. I mean, I hope that was clear, but at various times you might have seen this throttle. Let's focus. Thank you. Going. It's actually going this way, I believe. It's going. So this effect may or may not be happening depending on, when I shot the video. During the sine wave portion, you'll see it is actually happening, and that is why I have the scope out, because I'm trying to figure out how big of a problem this actually is, how much it's affecting the sine wave. Because on the voltmeter, I mean, nothing's really changing, and then I put it on an analog meter, and it looked even better. So it's got this every now and then, but what I'm trying to show is that it's more bark than bite. There's a lot of rotating mass here, and that mass doesn't just instantly slow down or speed up just because this decided to have a little. I did want to note it because it's going on in the background while I show this scope, and that's the reason I had the scope out, is to see more bark than bite, question mark. back to Sensei Fabuloso and the problem. I'm going to title this Pong Drift. It's hard to write through the phone. And what we got going on here with Pong Drift is our court is just, well, it's just too darned big. So what we got here seems like a good idea. Like the wide lanes in Seinfeld. It all seems like a good idea, but this is that noise, and there's a lot of room to just sort of fuck about. Uh-oh. So yeah, our Pong ball is engine RPM, and it's all over the place. And, you know, screwing up the vertical hold, too. It's making a drunken helmsman out of this throttle here. So what we need to instigate is tweaker Pong. When you play tweaker Pong, you need a Pong court, about that wide, yeah. And you need to exist between that. This side would be the idle stop. And this side would be the governor, G-O-V, and so on. To live on the edge that is tweaker Pong was not what we had going on over here in a lot of shooting this video. Most of this video, the screw was pretty much backed all the way out, so this unit would idle. You know, if it was just a stationary engine not doing anything, it would idle quite slowly. That's how this carburetor was set when I put it on there. And then, because of that, it had such a huge range to go this direction. So now, right there is only, 110 volts approximately. Where when I first bolted this on, all the way on that idle stop was probably 30 volts. And some of it's from it just being a whole separate new carburetor, all the distances and everything's a little... Setting this was a tremendous help. And then setting the other side. Let's look at that other side. So the only thing that should ever need to be set is this nut right here, and shouldn't have to be fiddling with it too much. So I would never touch this nut here, nor this rod. I found this has got about a quarter of a turn max adjusting range, more like 1/16 of a turn. It's super, super sensitive. Apply adjustment that makes the throttle go up with no load on it. Make contact, make the throttle go up a little bit, and then back it off to where it's what it was right before it touched, and then back it off about a 1/16 of a turn. What you want is for this to not pull so hard. You don't want it to go bang so hard that you're hurting the linkage on the carburetor. So that's what you're trying to accomplish here. So this thing really shouldn't ever have to be adjusted again unless a new carburetor is installed. And when you tighten the jam nut, it screws everything up. So you got to do it like 500 times. Live from the lectern in the narration booth, it is a recap. Governor adjustment, which consists of set low idle on carburetor, set the idle electromagnet limit range, Locktite magnet jam nut, and governor rod lock nut. Inspect and adjust voltage output at governor rod lock nut. Check sine wave output for general stator health, which was fantastic. Please note, the unit requires a new governor spring, part number supplied. Unit appears to have a defective controller board for idle step down. Current bleeds off and electromagnet releases randomly. Unit also needs a new lock nut on the governor rod, and the governor rod needs to be replaced as well. but I put glue on it, 'cause glue is amazing! Woo for glue! Woo! Glue! I would consider the problem fixed for all those people that go woo for glue. Maybe you're uptight and have an asshole that you make diamonds in. I don't know. You have that option to buy a new rod. Anyway, believement I would lack had I not been at the very pen that decided $19.50, yo, for all that. The whole segment. Ba-boom. But times are a-changin', and the oil is too. Changing the oil. Drain the old motor oil into a suitable container and take to its appropriate recycling location. Tighten that drain plug. Install 17 ounces of Valvoline Max Life 530. Install 4 ounces of Marvel Mystery Oil. Please note the unit holds 21 ounces total for future service needs. You're welcome. All that done goodery, $5. I am Unstra van Frava, and I will take you through the final process of checkout. Starting fluid, $4. Air filtration, the genuine, $11. A new carburetor, replete with new null essence. Keep away from babies, $32. Isn't that fabulous? A Petcock and grommet, $11. Room temperature vulcanizing sealant, $6 for your portion. Clamps, 1, 2, 3, 4 clamps, $4. A fuel filtering element, $4. Swill of Champion Valvoline Max Life 530, $7 for your portion. You gotta pick 'em by sound. That's how you know they're good. A fuel line, $3. Replacement pluggery, $5. Harvel Marvel Mystery Oil, $5. $15 for gasoline. And for eternal tightness, Locktite, $4. If we were to prod an arithmetickler with a hot poker, they would shout under duress, parts, $111. If we refer to page 1 of our information dossier, we will find written, oh so prettily, everything in layman's terms that we have just gone over. We will also find, to engage in my pageantry and propage, that I had to spend $164 on props. The amount of props you used was $75.72. 4 services as prop master, wig master, producier, looker upper, and doinses of things. I have added the sum of $35.28 to $75.72 to get $111. Untra is complete. Page 1 of 13 of your parts dossier. You take the parts dossier and you add the labor dossier, known as carburetor replacement and the fluffdom thereunder, be the $20. Valve train rocker lash inspection adjustment and accompaniment, $19.50. Fuel tank removal and all this fin fun, $20. Governor adjustment and the process therein, $19.50. And of course a marvelous and wacky oil change, $5.84. Plus the $111, $119.
95 even. Magic.